1 year ago, I made a mistake. I married Mark, a man I didn't love. At the time, it felt like the right choice. My parents adored him, my friends thought he was perfect, and Mark himself was everything a woman should want: kind, stable, and hardworking. But my heart was silent. I convinced myself that love would come later, that I would learn to care for him as the months passed. Instead, every day became heavier. I smiled through dinners, laughed at his jokes, and pretended to be the wife he deserved, but inside, I felt trapped. Mark noticed the distance. "Are you happy, Lisa?" he asked one night as we sat on the couch, the TV humming in the background. Of course, I lied, forcing a smile. But I knew he didn't believe me. The truth is, I didn't marry Mark for love. I married him because I was scared of being alone. Now, a year later, that fear seems so small compared to the guilt I feel. Mark doesn't deserve this. Mark began to withdraw after that night. He stopped asking if I was happy and started spending more time at work. The house grew quieter, filled only with the sounds of my own thoughts. I wondered if he knew the truth, but I was too much of a coward to say it out loud. One day, I found a note on the kitchen counter. Mark's neat handwriting read,
"Lisa, I've noticed you're unhappy. I don't know what's wrong, but I want to give you space to figure it out. I'll be staying at my brother's for a while. Take care of yourself."
My chest tightened as I read the words. He wasn't angry, not even disappointed, just sad. That hurt more than if he had shouted at me. Days turned into weeks, and Mark didn't return. At first, I felt relief. The space gave me time to breathe, to think. But as the silence stretched on, a strange ache began to grow inside me. I started noticing the little things he used to do: how he always made coffee for me in the morning, how he left the porch light on when I worked late, how he asked about my day, even when I had nothing interesting to say. I began to realize that maybe I hadn't given him a chance. I had been so focused on what I thought was missing that I never saw what I had. One evening, I picked up the phone and dialed his number. My heart raced as it rang, but he didn't answer. Instead, I left a voicemail. "Mark, I need to talk to you. I don't know how to say this, but I think I owe you the truth. Please, can we meet?" The next day, he called back. His voice was calm, but I could hear the hesitation. We agreed to meet at a small cafe downtown, the same place we had our first date. Mark arrived on time, as always. He looked tired, his face thinner, but his eyes still held the kindness I remembered. "What's on your mind, Lisa?" he asked, his tone gentle. I hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I've been unfair to you, Mark. When we got married, I wasn't honest with myself or with you. I thought love would grow, but instead, I've been shutting you out. And it's not your fault, it's mine." Mark didn't respond right away. He sipped his coffee, his gaze thoughtful. Finally, he said, "I've known, Lisa. Maybe not the whole truth, but I've felt it. I stayed because I hoped you'd let me in someday. But I can't keep waiting if you don't want me in your life." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I don't know how to fix this, Mark. I don't want to hurt you anymore, but I don't want to lose you either. I just don't know how to love you the way you deserve." Mark leaned forward, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Lisa, love isn't perfect. It's not always fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes, it's quiet. Sometimes, it takes time. But it only works if both people are willing to try. Are you willing?" I looked into Mark's eyes, searching for something: hope, forgiveness, or maybe an answer to the storm inside me. His words echoed in my mind. Are you willing? Was I? Could I let go of the walls I'd built around my heart? Could I try to see Mark not as the man I was supposed to love but as the man he truly was? I swallowed hard and whispered, I don't know how, Mark. But I want to try. His shoulders relaxed slightly, and for the first time in months, a faint smile touched his lips. That's all I need to hear. The next few weeks weren't easy. Mark moved back home, but things felt fragile, as though we were walking on thin ice. I started to notice the little things he did to make my life easier, how he always put my favorite blanket on the couch or remembered how I took my tea. And in return, I tried to open up, to let him see the real me. One night, we sat together in the living room, the silence less awkward than before. I turned to him and said, Mark, why did you marry me? I mean, you must have known I wasn't fully in it. He looked at me, surprised by the question. I married you because I saw something in you, Lisa. You're strong, even if you don't believe it. You care deeply, even if you hide it. And I believed that, with time, we could build something real. I still believe that. His honesty left me speechless. For so long, I had thought of our marriage as a mistake, but Mark had always seen it as a possibility. Over time, something began to shift. It wasn't sudden or dramatic, but it was real. I started looking forward to our conversations, to the moments we shared. We began doing little things together, cooking dinner, taking walks, even just sitting outside watching the stars. One evening, as we stood in the kitchen washing dishes, Mark said, You know, I never expected perfection from you. I just wanted a chance to love you. I put down the dish I was holding and turned to face him. I think I'm starting to understand what love really means, Mark. And I think I'm falling for you. His eyes widened in surprise, and then his face broke into a smile so genuine it made my chest ache. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face.
Lisa, that's all I ever wanted to hear.
From that moment, our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was real. It wasn't built on fireworks or grand gestures but on quiet moments of understanding and the decision to keep choosing each other every day. I realized that love isn't always about falling, it's about staying, about fighting for something even when it feels hard. And as I looked at Mark, I knew one thing for certain. I didn't regret saying I do anymore.